Alright, well, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here in Mendham and such, mostly. So, just another week. And I did watch, doing the physics stuff, a Sean Carroll thing with Joe Rogan. And in the 2 hours, they did manage to talk about a couple of things that were a little bit interesting, but it's just always the perspective people take on things, and they just kind of ruin everything in a way. That could be a worthwhile conversation with, just such obvious cheats of reality. You have to make it happily ever after. You have to lighten it up. You have to be encouraging and positive instead of just, ending on a good hard negative and just pointing out how, gee, we're doomed. So even talking about nanotechnology and everything else, and they'll turn every problem into some sort of circumstance like, oh yeah, well, we're not really prepared for that. Well, I mean, not being prepared for it sort of means that, you could have the whole civilization driven into chaos and warlords and deserts and apocalyptic unpleasantness. So it's not an insignificant lack of preparation, and it's not a positive thing that huge negative potential exists in our circumstance, and not the best time to be having kids, of course, and all that kind of crap. Into a world that's more dangerous rather than less dangerous. Kind of obvious messages that might be sent, but they won't send those messages. They won't say those things overtly because too many people will complain, too negative. So, there was a couple of commenters. Probably should just read comments maybe or something, but I don't know. This is always something to say about every comment, even if it's stupid. Then you can just make a commentary about how people are too fucking stupid. So I don't know exactly how I'll handle this. So I'll just sit here and think about it for a while. And so some of it's just the old free will kind of arguments, and they talked to quite a bit about that, and it settled into this stupid compatibilism bullshit where you just pretend the truth and you're honoring the truth, but you basically ignore the truth and just sit there and pretend you're not a robot and you're not this and you're not that, because those are unhappy words. So you use some kind of happy language to make you into some sort of handy abled person rather than disabled person. So you just use semantics and word games to pretend the disability doesn't suck, that somehow it's just swell. And the fact that we are programmed by institutions and silly bad habits, like bullfighting or something, and it took us so long to say, oh, that's just a bad habit, that has nothing to do with anything rational. That's just a completely irrational behavior. Nobody needs this to be entertained by it. They can find something else to eat, so to speak. And you could do that for all of this crap that's just built around institutionalized addictions. And that's all they really are, is institutionalizing addictions. And just have it. Like the British not being able to let go of their emperors, their kings and queens and bullshit. They can't let go of it because it's like this old bad habit, and they just can't kick it. Just say it was stupid. We should have never done it. We should have never admired these fucking cunts, and we should never fell for it in the beginning. And we certainly shouldn't be falling for it now. And you can say that about most sports, or just people running around in circles. It's silly. And the only reason why people watch it is because of the drama. They want to see, like watching car racing or something. They don't want to see a successful car race. They want to see some cars flipping over and all kinds of horror. It's just the truth. And it's a bad habit. And once you don't do it for a little while, then you won't have the addiction. It's really easy addictions to break. And yet there are addictions that society is just so resistant to fighting. But they'll certainly fight things like cigarette smokers or something. They'll crucify them on crosses and, pillory them to death and do whatever they can to be a pain in their ass. But they won't look at any of their own addictions and say they're wrong. They're wasteful. Huge amounts of resources that could be spent on things that handy able people, things that educate people and create more potential in people, investments in people, wasted on pets, for example. Huge amount of money. So you got sports and pets and entertainment even. Because most of the entertainments aren't, so somebody brought up like a Shakespeare quote, and most of these little dramas people watch, they don't have any food value, where Shakespeare was all food. It was, the substance was in the fact that he was so articulate and so well spoken and could say something. He could put 1,000 pictures into a few words, so it's on a whole different scale than what we call entertainment now, which is just candy. It's just things moving and crashing and banging and shooting, and there's no message really. There's no theme. There's no story. There's no ending. There's no anything. It's just junk food. Where Shakespeare was all got to the meat of what a human being was and what the hell we're doing here and what we're caught up in, and how most of it is just this psychological rubbish, and we're allowing it to control our destiny, just the rubbish part. The worst of our nature owns us, and those are all really positive messages in my opinion. I mean, they're obviously negative in the sense that they are they don't have anything too good to say about the game. But the truth is that we could play a bad game well, and most people don't want to hear that that's their obligation. So maybe I'll read that quote anyway that somebody left, because it's one of the best ones. One of the, what's it all mean in the end but nothing. It's the theater of our lives is just spouting bullshit, and that most people aren't concerned with what their life means. And I suppose that's why I am who I am. I mean, that's why I make these videos. That's why I end up doing this. Is because I have for a long time been very concerned with what I do with my existence. Very aware of the fact that there's a higher obligation to call myself a good guy. I have to do more than scheme for the gratification of my desires. I have to make the world a better place. I have to leave the place better than I got it, for certain. And that there are priorities, quite obviously, much more important than my gratification. My one little brain being happy is a small fraction of the game, the real game that's being played by the 7 billion humans and the 7 gazillion sentient feeling organisms on Earth, and all of them are caught up in this dance. And the fact is, if we dance a different dance, we can cause a lot less harm. So it's not so much about just getting through the dance and getting, preventing yourself from getting a broken leg, or maybe helping somebody else not break their leg. The real game is to create a dance that doesn't break legs. To find a way to do this that is harmless. And if we can't do that, to recognize that it's time to, stop banging hammers if all we're going to do is hit fingers with them. If there's no good nail to hammer, hammering's not a good idea. Because all you do is end up eventually hitting fingers. And ultimately, I think that it's a kind of obvious argument that we are just a bunch of puffed up, blowhard bullshit, all steamed up about absolute crap. Our passions, everything is rather trivial and superficial, and for naught, in the sense that it's just the same bad play will keep being played over and over again. And the game is really trying to improve the play through your participation, to spend your moments reading the dumb script and figure out that there's a few lines in here you can make better, so the next guy who's got to read it doesn't have to read as dumb a script. And that's sort of the idea of the evolution of memes and themes and ideas that migrate through cultures and civilize humans. And that's sort of what we all should be after, is this understanding that that's the real game, is somehow getting this swirl to elevate the game, to make the game better. So the future players have a better game to play. And obviously I would argue the better game to play is one where you get rid of all the bullshit. You get rid of this religion crap. These silly delusional notions of reality. And you find a way to bottle, to control what we know to be this mechanism of desire and ambition and gratification, and kind of condense it to what it really is, which is just a kind of addiction. And if we're going to be addicted to something, it's kind of an obvious argument I could make. There's two kinds of game being played. A group of people is trying to cure cancer, and they're playing the trying to cure cancer game. And there's a group of people playing baseball. Now, which one should you be supporting with your passion, your desire to watch, you're caught up in their drama? Which one is the better investment? Making people that can hit baseballs further, or making people who can figure out how cancer cells grow better? I mean, it's kind of obvious which one you should be supporting, so to speak. Not that I'm a big fan of extending life or any of that kind of crap. It's just the idea of people motivated to enhance the quality of people's lives, so they spend less time dying. That might be very good. Versus people hitting baseballs over fences is absolute rubbish, useless crap. And it's just kind of an obvious thing. It's undeniable. So that just reminded me, the triggers that go off in your brain, the connected ideas, that one of the themes they were talking about was free will. And they brought up the silly part where people will say things like, well, if there's no free will and people can't control who they are, they can't. So it's like this idea that there's nothing inside of them. There's no mechanism that says, that's too stupid, don't do it. When, of course, there is a mechanism that says that. They just don't give a shit. But anyway, let's not talk about them controlling. Let's just say this is true. They are idiots and fools and retards. And it's idiotic to think there was any mechanism that could have stopped them internally. Like they had any notice or any hint that they were an idiot. And they had lots of hints. But regardless, let's just say they're not to blame for being an idiot. Even though they've had every opportunity not to be an idiot, in the sense that they could have watched the Flintstones or the Brady Bunch or any bit of cultural crap and figured out how not to be too big an idiot, because it's in Teletubby language. Even Teletubbies know not to be idiots, so to speak. So there's lots of ways to learn not to be an asshole. But anyway, so let's say it's not their fault. So what? I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with why we understand reward and punishment works. So we know reward and punishment is what works. It keeps people like me from committing crimes. It's just the truth. I would do lots of things that are currently illegal if I was going to get punished for doing them. There's lots of bad people that need correcting. I would correct them. Yeah. So there's no... it's clearly something you have to have, is reward and punishment. And there's absolutely no point in punishing innocent people for the crimes of idiots. So you wouldn't go up to the smart person and say, you have to go to prison because an idiot did something stupid. That would be pointless. So you might as well punish the assholes. You might as well punish the assholes even if they're innocent, because there's no other way the system works. You have to punish something for bad stuff, or the bad stuff will happen. So if somebody doesn't get punished, it doesn't stop. And it just seems like clearly if you associate the punishment with the action, then future people won't commit the action because they'll be able to figure out, even if they're idiots, that there's punishment connected to the action. So it doesn't have anything to do with anything. It doesn't change anything. There's no reason to say you're going to break reward and punishment, because reward and punishment obviously does work. It's stupid to think it doesn't. Of course it does. The threat of punishment is a powerful, motivating device. And why would you throw that out when you don't have to? So anyway, I don't know exactly where I was going with that, beyond pointing out that it's this. There's a right way to talk about and a wrong way, and that's certainly the wrong way, is to think that somehow, not understanding why we have reward and punishment in the first place, which is to prevent. That's the whole purpose of it, is to prevent. It isn't to make it all okay, because we know we can't fix it. You can't fix some crimes. You can't fix it. You can't fix it. Somebody kills some little girl, kids or something. You can't fix it. You can't undo it. You can't make up for it. You can't take it away. You can't erase it. All you can hope to do is prevent some other asshole from doing the same thing. So that's all you got. So then they started even talking a little bit about, they didn't say it this way. They were talking to use some other analogy. But I've always argued it's just idiotic how our law is. Yeah, he was using a drunk driver as an example, and how there's lucky and unlucky. And so why do we punish the unlucky who kills somebody? And we say it's okay, you only get a little bit of punishment if you're just fucking lucky and you didn't happen to kill anybody. When all it was luck. That's it. The truth is if the same circumstance hit, the external circumstance was the same, you were certainly drunk enough to have the same fatal accident the other guy had, because you wouldn't have had the reflexes and blah blah blah, and you were going too fast and all that kind of crap. So the same rules would have applied, and so it's just a matter of flipping a coin or something. So it's what kind of bullshit is that? We have a system that says you're guilty, when I flip the coin. If it's heads, you're guilty. If it's tails, you're not guilty. I mean, the difference between 20 years in prison and a $1,000 fine. You did exactly the same thing. Just one person did it unluckily and the other person did it luckily. And they've done that with attempted murder. I mean, people have actually shot other people right in the face. And because they didn't die, they only got 6 years or 5 years in prison. And the only difference is they got lucky, they didn't kill the person. They were failures at their own attempted murder. They attempted to kill somebody, same exact crime, and they just shot poorly. So, I mean, it's obviously irrational. Why would you? It obviously makes no sense. So clearly there's a disconnect in the logic. There's a disconnect in the function. And these are the kind of things that we should be able to fix. These are the kind of obvious, wasteful idiocies that exist, where when we're reading this script, we should be able to say, this is a plot flaw. This really shouldn't be in the plot. This idea that, oh, you got drunk and you had an unlucky experience and now your life is totally ruined. And the other guy just got lucky and his life isn't ruined. That's not how it's supposed to be. That doesn't sound like deserve happening. That doesn't happen. That doesn't sound like fair or any of the stuff it should be. It's not a good script. We should fix it. And none of this gets fixed, which is the bizarre part. So at least it gets talked about a little bit. But again, see, in their conversation, there was no talk about hey, we should fix that. Yeah, it shouldn't be dependent on luck. Luck shouldn't decide whether you get 20 years in prison or you get a $1,000 fine. It shouldn't be up to luck. That's bullshit. You shouldn't just go to Las Vegas and spin a little wheel and a ball goes around and that decides whether you get 20 years or a $1,000 fine. That's not how justice should happen. So, and there's so many of these. This is all kind of obvious, right? Just as obvious as the glaring obvious thing where you say we're wasting all this money on these silly sports when we should be investing in human capital, human intelligence, free internet for everybody kind of thing, long before you waste billions of dollars on this crap. And we all should be able to agree, yes, that's crap. But we can do better than that. Civilization should encourage us to do better than that. It should get us off that bad drug and get us hooked on something better. And these are all kinds of things that there should be a mechanism, you know, as us as script readers, to say, this is a bad script. Let's do a rewrite. This isn't Shakespeare. This is poorly written. We can write better than this. We can do better than this. We can live better than this. And the only thing that's stopping it from happening is everybody's a fucking lunatic. Or everybody's a naysaying, wimpy piss shit. You know, they got no, you know, it's just so easy. They're all just sitting there with their fucking hammers, just saying wham, 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 because anything that requires them to sacrifice a nickel, fuck it, wham, just wham that. I ain't spending no nickel. I ain't giving up nothing. I ain't changing nothing. You know, absolutely no concession that they're reading a bad script. Because they like the bad script. They're hooked on it. Something like that. It's just disappointing. Clearly, I'm disappointed at how difficult it is to plant any seeds of reason in people. You know, just so difficult to get anything anything of any integrity to grow. I mean, their brains are just, give me the weeds. I only grow weeds. I only grow, you know, recreational drugs and weeds. They can't do anything else. They can't, you know, can't be bothered because everything else is a little too delicate. It requires too much more work. You know, the weeds grow easy. All the other kind of plants are a little buggy and wimpy, and you know they require a little bit of care and a little bit of effort, a little bit of attention, and they don't want to waste that because they're just too busy getting theirs. The glib fucks. So, yeah, you know, I don't have too much nice to say. You know, it's all these conversations, like I said. So apparently, somewhere in the conversation, he finally got around to talking about antinatalism, which I thought was very positive, but I didn't hear what he said. But you know, even though he said it in a very negative way, that they just want to kill everybody or something. But the very fact that they have to, they actually say this word, and that they're actually having to deal or address the question of our purposeless existence, or our poorly functioning existence, or our high maintenance even. The fact that our life costs so much, and it really does. It's an incredibly expensive thing you're doing by breathing. The air you're breathing has to be made out of the life and death of so much stuff. The biosphere is constantly producing this oxygen, constantly, and it has to be, you know, even though the plants don't look like they're takers too, because they need our corpses in the ground, you know, to get the stuff they're feeding on, the nitrogen and you know, the heavier elements. You know, it's a vicious, horrid amount of grinding up of existences just to create your daily breath, your daily supply of oxygen. And then you get into all the complexities of being a human being and existing, and all the subtle mistakes you can make that can ruin somebody else's day, or ruin their week, or ruin their life. And you know, it's all over the place. All these little horrors, and committed by fairly innocent trespasses. Just, you know, because everything is so fragile and delicate. The world we're living in, so dangerous, so easy to sink somebody else's boat, and we have so little appreciation of it, little knowledge of how much we're screwing up something else, and if we have a piece of pie, it means somebody else ain't eating that piece of pie. If I'm living in a house, it means somebody else ain't living in this house. I'm taking up the space. And certainly I'm saying that I'm entitled to take up some space somewhere, but it could be ruining somebody else's life. The fact that they would come live here, and it could, as this place did for me, save their life. Just a fact. If somebody else was living here, then I would have never been able to live here, and there might never have been an inmendham or any of this crap. Some people applauding, but I'm just saying, there's just, this game is just so intricate, and there's no way to know when you're, frankly, even when you're doing the right thing, it's the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And these, another, I don't know if Shakespeare wrote that, but damn good piece of stuff. It doesn't mean that good intentions are bad. It just means that that's how bad this script is. That's how bad this game is. That even when you're really conscientious and being really careful, you still can't know whether you're doing the right thing. You still don't know when it's the right time to interfere. Something getting murdered somewhere outside. A little squeaky noise. Creepy. Sorry, it's distracting. I don't know where the hell it's coming from. Spooky. So, see, like, I should be interfering maybe. Maybe I should do something. Maybe I shouldn't do something. It's just so hard to know. You see a friend of yours getting married to the wrong woman. Do I try to wreck it? Do I try to do something? I'm fucking with both their destinies. How much responsibility can I take for their bad choices? Or, and what if I'm wrong? And, it's just horrible. Trying to navigate. Even as a good person, it's hard to play a good game. And we should point that, it needs to be emphasized to people. And this is what they're injecting new people into. A game we haven't figured out how to play very well. And you certainly see it over the entire globe, that the game gets even worse. I mean, I'm just talking about little stuff between civilized people. Civilized people have a hard time living next door to each other. The world is a shithole. I mean, pigsty. Disgusting. And they can't be guilty of the hypocrisy, because they're so, we're special people, we're okay, if we breed it's okay. Well, and then as soon as they do that, then they can't tell the rest of the world they can't, because then they'll just be obvious racist, instead of secret ones. Such bullshit. So maybe I'll read some comments and call it a day, because there's not, it's the same themes I've been over before. And again, I guess I'm just focusing on the fact that, Shakespeare was so, he's so good, eloquent at putting words together, and yet even that almost, that, I don't want to say poetry, because I really hate the idea of poetry. I hate it in concept, because it's not really poetry in a sense. That's the first part I'd say. But it's a lyrical way of saying something, in a sense it says it with a poignantly, and in a very it's not direct. These people hate the truth directly. You do need to feed it to them disguised as apple pie. And it wasn't as dark as it needs to be, in the sense that Shakespeare wasn't as direct in his statements about the tragedy of our lives. no matter who you are, whether you're a king or a peasant, you know, you're just a pig in his slop. You know, there's no dignity in this existence. It's just such an important message. And it's kind of daunting to realize that even though it's been put in beautiful words and it's been put in beautiful, even movies, some movies say an awful lot. And, you know, the message hasn't grokked with most people. Most people don't get it. They resist it hostilely. And, you know, they're just so full of this silver lining crapola, these cheap rationalizations. It's really quite disgusting. So I guess we'll move this up here, and this should be comments, I imagine, and it looks like it is. So I don't know what that does. I don't know, the thing has the other thing under the other thing. I'll just take a quick look here. Yeah, it does put it underneath here. It's funny. So when I don't have the window open, it's black down here usually. So that's kind of different. So I don't know if that means anything. Probably doesn't mean anything. I just mean it's, oh, closed the wrong window. My mistake. Okay. Dude, didn't realize you must be like 6'5" or something. No, 6'1". So don't exaggerate. Life becomes more bearable once you accept death and learns to appreciate it. So just sickening sentence, you know. Appreciate the dying process. Oh yeah, that's just such fun. Why don't I appreciate getting cancer and wasting away, you know, and choking on my own blood and shit. Oh, it's just such fun. Oh, fuck you so fucking hard, you kook. I mean, you these glib fucks. I mean, just the glib all over it. Just glib, 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 glib. Fuck you. You just can't die hard and badly enough, you piece of shit. In our modern society, we are taught to run from it. Every animal on earth runs from it. They all run from degrade and disability and pain, and that's rational. As I was talking before about reward and punishment, it's why it works so well. It's because we're not stupid cunts like you who can't tell the difference between reward and punishment. Oh, fuck. Invite death and let it always be by your side. In what form, you kook? So there's just this magical thing that people just drop dead like that. Oh, death. Death isn't that. Death is dying, dumbass. Obviously something you haven't done yet, and yet you're selling it. You're sitting here selling your fucking poisonous cheese of the fun death when you haven't done it yet. Why don't you go die and then tell me how great it was? Asshole. Life is just a short moment. Oh, no it isn't. It's a long, redundant moment. You know, especially as the older you get, yeah, the more, whoa, this sure smells samey. You start knowing what's coming. And it's you're just waiting for the trap sounds, you know, the little snares. Oh, another snare. Damn it. Whipped again. I mean, fuck you. Oh, I hate these people. An interesting experience. So that's it, just reduces it all to interesting. You know. So, you know, feeling your tubes to your pancreas close up and the fluid start pressurizing your brain, and the fluid starts leaking out of your eyeballs. That's just an experience. It's just one of the fun little things you do as an experience. Fuck you. Nothing more, nothing less. So just such glib shit. There's no difference between, you know, having your nuts crushed and, whatever, some other thing. I mean, it's just glib shit. Selling crap. Soon you'll be dead like most others. Well, it's barely most others, actually, but yes. There really haven't been that many people who ever existed, in the human race. There's more people that exist now than have existed for like the previous 500 years or whatever the thing is. So remember that. Remember what? Because everybody dies, it means but dying is fun. So that's his logic. What I can remember lots of things. Okay, I can remember reading about how there was a lot of great people in the world, like Abigail Adams or something, and she's very intelligent and all this. And then I read in a book about them, I think it was her anyway, she died of breast cancer, and they did surgery without anesthesia back then. And maybe should I remember that? I mean, your selective memory crap is just such bullshit. And you think it's all worthwhile. And like I said, you haven't done any of it yet. You haven't had a little bullet shot into you in the Civil War and have some guy with a stick poking and see if he can push the bullet out. You haven't experienced any of this shit, fuckhead. So why are you selling it? Why are you selling this ride that you haven't taken? You've never had ALS. Why are you selling the ride? Why? Have you had cancer? Have you had chemotherapy? Why are you selling the ride? When you never have taken the ride. You cunt. God, I'm so blocking you. We who walk this earth now are a tiny minority. Well, it's not really true. Like I said, it's not tiny. I mean, all the humans that ever existed is only a number like 48 billion or something, or maybe. It's probably smaller than that. It's probably like 20. So again, just more horse shit that you just spew. Most humans are dead or haven't been born. Well, the haven't been born part is speculation. I may often argue the future is bigger than the present. The past is sort of dead, so yes, the past we can't fix. Can't do much about the present either, because it happened already. Fuck, I keep missing the present. Ah, damn, there it went again. It always, the present just... It's so fucking hard to grab the present and do anything with it. So the only thing you can really fix is the future. And that's what I'm attempting to do. You're attempting to set people up to slip on banana peels forever. I'm trying to set it up so nobody ever slips on them ever again. You're a cunt and an asshole. I'm an intelligent, sensitive being. Big difference. A brief moment under the stars. Yeah, well, fuck you. Fuck you and that glib drivel. Alright. And that was posted after... Okay, this statement is also glib shit, so I'm probably going to block this guy too. Alright. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools. The way to dusty death. Out, brief candle. Life but a walking shadow, a poor player. Yeah, I love that poor player part. That struts and frets his hour upon the stage. Yes, we're all just into our drama. The drama. I ain't getting no respect. I ain't this. Yeah, all this drama. And then is heard no more. It's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's all just a bullshit little narrow focused crap narrative that most people are living. Chase, grab, kill, eat, yeah, whatever. Just take. Never thinking. Rewrite the script. Fix tomorrow. That's all there is. There's nothing here. The present is, as I just pointed out, it might as well be dead. You can't fix it. You know, all we got is the future. And all you assholes are looking toward the past. But yeah, that's just too beautiful. It's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. I mean, just too perfect. Alright, and then this asshole says, if that may be taken to be a statement that inmendham is expressing here, yeah, it's certainly, I wish I was that eloquent, then it may be said that the philosophy is true. It may be said, whatever. It either is correct or incorrect. It's a tale. Okay, that's kind of clear. We're just telling stories about what we are. Okay, now we can tell the truth or we can tell a bunch of lies. Clearly, the human race, generally speaking, is telling lies. They have gods that created them on purpose. They're not biological organisms with a 300 or 400 million year long history of climbing out of slop and being slime monsters and just kind of machines, crocodiles. We're crocodiles that can sing and dance. But that's the tale. And so the idiot is that, yes, these are idiots because they don't even know what planet they really are on. They don't know what planet Earth is. They think it's something God created. And then clearly we're all puffed up a little bit, intense and saying a lot of words, but we're not accomplishing anything. The words are empty, and lots of people talking about, oh, we gotta care and we gotta, I can feel their pain, and especially all these fake liberals who want to fix a problem by making it worse, by feeding the problem. Just so stupid. All right, so anyway, then he says, however, the tragic attitude, so he calls it an attitude. So if you recognize something is, like, say like there's a dead raccoon in one of these pictures in the background. If you recognize that's horrible. That's an attitude. It's your attitude that makes that horrible. You'd be getting eaten by maggots and, first getting hit by a car and then getting eaten by maggots. That's a bad attitude. No, it's not a bad attitude. Sorry. Wrong answer. While it may be admirable, it's not about being admirable. It's about whether or not it's the truth or not the truth. And I think every piece of logical evidence indicates that the incredibly disproportionate way that the price of life is imposed is unacceptable. And the fact that that luck is deciding whether you get 20 years in prison or $1,000 fine, that's unacceptable. That all of these standards and all of the conditions we've created for the existing and playing this game are unacceptable conditions. No civilized person should play this uncivilized game. It's a disgracefully bad game. So unless you're on the field yelling at the umpires and yelling at the referees and yelling at the people in the stands that this game sucks, okay, you're an asshole. A fucking asshole. Alright, it is not the only attitude that comes out of this condition. Makes no sense at all. What condition? Comes out of the condition. So you watch horror, absolute horror, like Tsunami, and some guy's on his roof and he'll never be seen again. He's going to die, and he's going to die poorly. That's really a happy story. No, it isn't. It's probably less tragic than the people who love their mother and keep her alive 10 years longer than they should have. But they're both bad stories. They're not good stories. Alright, so I won't block you, but fuck you for that crap. After that beautiful Shakespeare, you type this mush, this absolute trivial, trite, mushy pile of crap. It's disgusting. It's like having an intro to a beautiful piece of music where some asshole just hits a pan with a spoon. Your words are fucking juvenile and crappy and thoughtless and putrid. Alright. I hear your passion, man, and yes, Google is the absolute enemy of freedom. That's an old Google sucks video. Yes. Alright, bye-bye shit from China. Well, that's not a great subject. I think you look better these days. Who cares? I won't bother with that. I'm from Indonesia, but I hate Indonesia. Okay, whatever. I think a lot of people rip your work from others, such as superhuman dance. I don't know. To make money, who cares? Ideas are not to be sold or for barter. Yeah, just really aren't. You're brilliant. Yeah, okay, well, I already know that. You don't have to tell me. Tell them. Depressingly true, ... Yes, it is depressing, but it isn't. There's a phrase for that, you know, where somebody says, you know, like catastrophic, but not urgent, or some kind of, you know, play on words like that. And the truth is that we can get through it. We can accept the fact that we're assholes and that we're playing a bad game. And we can still play the bad game. It's just that we do everything we can to make sure people in the future don't have to play a bad game. And we can feel good about that, because we're making it better. So as long as we're making it better, you know, you can still eat your stupid crap pie. You know, you can still feed your addictions. Just make sure you don't get anybody else addicted. That's not that difficult. So, bravo. That's, you know, about average. Looks like you almost made it halfway through the first lecture. Maybe watch the rest now. I don't know what lecture that was, but fuck you. Killing ourselves or someone else to live. Again, what should we do, Gary? What is your answer? Oh, this guy was sort of really annoying. So 3 comments. He posts to Black Sabbath song or something, right? You can't understand a damn thing you guys are saying, so unless you go look up the lyrics, you're fucked, because you're not going to know what the fuck he's screaming at you. I think that's what's his head, right? It used to be Black Sabbath. He was the Bat Eater guy. Was the singer, right? Something like that. But anyway, Bat Eater. What the name thing again? I don't know what it is with names. But anyway, fuck you and your rock and roll crap, okay? It's just, fuck you. Fuck you that any Black Sabbath song is saying anything comprehensible. Douchebag. So I just hate that shit. I used to own the vinyl, one of their better albums. Oh, well, you know, whatever. It's just all incomprehensible crapola to me. Alright, so this guy's just quoting my stuff, which is very nice, but I won't reread my own video. The stupidity of Indonesia. Yes, there's lots of stupidity. Point is they killed a decent human being for no good reason. Just absolutely none. For a fucking joint. They killed a person. And he didn't even smoke the joint. He was just protecting a girl, which makes him even more of a decent person. And they killed him. They fucking killed him. It's a retarded country. I mean, just retarded. He goes to their stinking pigsty of a country to educate them, to be a teacher. And they kill him. Fuck. Fuck Indonesia. Okay, I do believe in God. Well, then you're a jerk. Learn philosophy, this guy calls himself. I think I blocked him on the other channel, but whatever. And find it the best to act as if God exists. Why? God is a sadistic lunatic. He puts a bunch of perverse child molesting and rape stories in his fucking book. His book is retarded. He damns people to eternal horror and pain and suffering for bullshit crimes. You never even let Eve out of hell. God sucks, idiot. And your belief in God is what makes him real. Him. Well, whatever. Again, why would I want him to be real? What is the magic of your God? What is respectable about your fucking God? He's a ogre. He's a fucking maniacal ogre. Okay, worried about idiotic, trivial things. Love me or I'll kill you. Why would I want to believe in something that says love me or I will kill you? Why would I want to do that? You idiot. Oh, it really does make a difference in your life. Who cares? So does drinking lead paint. You want an easier life? Drink some lead paint and you'll have an easier life as an imbecile. And that's all fucking religion is. It's just a big bucket of lead paint. You're just saying fuck neurons, fuck rationality, fuck reality. I'm going to live in a deluded little weird world. And it's a really weird world. I'm afraid to tell you this, but it's really weird that you think you can go to heaven and think about all the people who are in hell that you knew, that you liked, that might have done you a favor in your life, and they're being tormented or tortured forever. And you're okay with that. That makes you a pretty big piece of scum also. Fucking asshole. God is what gives life meaning. Now, fuck you. You suck. So sorry people who responded to this asshole, but I'm killing him. I'm not reading any more of this tripe. Fuck you. Learn philosophy. It's not philosophy, shithead. It's fucking deluded retardation. You got zero evidence that this delusion, again, believing in Santa Claus is fun. Fuck you. God, I hate people. She's really nice. I don't know who he's talking about. First 52 seconds is just an immediate, infallible life summary that none of these frauds will ever refute. Yes, I make good arguments, generally speaking. All their enchantment is built on the raw truth. I don't know what that is. And it's totally undermined by the fact that life comes at a price of unnecessary torture that can't be justified. Yes, there are unacceptable circumstances. And we invented this word, unacceptable, but the truth is we always end up accepting the unacceptable. And we should have a conversation about that. Like, maybe we should not be using the word unacceptable when we find it acceptable. And we should maybe question, why do we find it acceptable? Because it didn't happen to us. Because it's not threatening us. Because we weren't born black, or we weren't dun-da-da, or we weren't blah blah blah. And so all of a sudden it's okay because it's not our problem. I mean, it's disgusting. Price of unnecessary torture that can't be justified. No wonder these frivolous idiots love magical shit and distraction so much. Well, the problem is they're frivolous idiots, and the key word there is, both words are really important, frivolous and idiot, but the point is idiots are generally speaking frivolous. The two things go together. So idiot is the problem. They're just idiots. Deluded idiots. Alright, I think in the Titanic thing, the lady was still miserable in the end. Well, I just mean, it seems like she had family and all this other bullshit, and blah, 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 so she moved on with her little fucking life. You know. So again, she found it acceptable to have in her brain this image of somebody, goodbye, you're going away, very far away, oh, goodbye. I mean, it was all acceptable. To me, that wouldn't be acceptable. I would be pretty much off the whole life thing. I would be pretty much carrying a sign around with me all day long saying, oh, fuck this, let's not do this anymore. This is way too stupid. If we can't end stories better than this, fuck this stupid game. Alright, well, I'll read some more of this crap. Let's see. Like people who are victims of unrequited love. Oh yeah, that's another fun, great thing. You know, years of pining for somebody. And then if you ever get them, you'll find out they're a piece of shit anyway. But isn't that a bunch of the Shakespeare thing? You know, all for naught. Instead of just sucking it up and going out and looking for another girlfriend or boyfriend, they actually get pleasure of a sort out of suffering. Well, I don't think that's really true. So, fuck you. I think that's just horseshit. I think we are spoiled by visions of perfection. And, once you know it, then you compare everything else to it. And you're sort of doomed no matter what you do. It's very hard to just say, it's like you've had a really good horse and the horse never bucked and the horse never did anything wrong. He did everything great. And the horse died. And every other horse you rode just never came close. The experience just isn't going to be the same. I guess this is because even if it's suffering, one gets an intense awareness of one's existence. Whatever, more horse shit. I may be suffering, but by God it's me and I can feel it. I really don't think people are doing it to test whether they feel. I don't think they're pinching themselves and say, "Ooh, am I alive? Am I alive? Am I alive?" No, I don't think that's how it's working. I think we're, by nature, competitively built to be this possessive. And it's sort of the reward and punishment thing, in the sense that your possessions can't be cherishable if they're easy to lose. So it's that's the catch-22 tragedy of it, is that our perception of value makes it possible for us to be valueless, to have nothing, and nothing is not something. You feel that void. So fuck you. It's more glib shit. Oh, let's just pretend that suffering isn't, it's all their fault. It's the victim's fault for feeling the pain. People march into battle all the time knowing full well that a bullet in the gut will really hurt, or that an amputated leg will cause some problems. And what does that mean? They're happy? I don't think they were too happy. I don't think there was a lot of people in wars who aren't happy to be there at all. And they're just sort of, doing the, man show. They're just kind of trying to humiliate each other into, all right, I'll be a tough guy. I'll be tougher. I'll be tougher than you. You'll be tougher than me. I'll be tougher than you. They're just trying to outcompete each other and being soldier man. When what they really want to do is get the fuck out of there. But I'll feel like a hero. So whatever. Fuck you. Owen. Alright, so another pile of crap from Owen. The human mind seems to have unlimited. You're already in big trouble. Big trouble. Ability to see things in a way completely opposite to reality. Well, clearly I don't think it's unlimited. Obviously they can make up a lot of fantasy stories, but it's not unlimited. They run out of formula. There is that condition in which a person who has been stricken blind actually believes that he can see. Well, I don't think there's too many of those walking around, so that sounds like horse shit. It sounds like a, what do you call that? It's sort of a straw man piece of evidence, because it's like there's only one piece of straw in the world that does that. You can spout reason all day long, but it has no effect. It obviously does have an effect, slowly but surely. So I can make these positive arguments. The human race figured out, generally speaking, most of the human race figured out bullfighting, not a good idea. Dog fighting, not a good idea. Cockfighting, not a good idea. The only place it still happens is in the Muslim loony worlds. So in a lot of ways we do grow up. But in a lot of ways we don't grow up. So I'm just saying, yes, slow. So fucking slow. It should be much quicker. Growing up shouldn't take this long. And it's taking a preposterous amount of time for the culture to catch up to Shakespeare. There is that condition, I can say, people just latch on to whatever they choose. So again, idiotic. They don't just choose it. The culture indoctrinates them with it. Clearly the people, the breeders, are the ones raising people. So they tend to be assholes who are raising the next generation. And that's a big problem. like God, alien beings, spooks, ghosts. There's no arguing with them. Yeah, you can't argue with them, but again, it's the culture's making money off that shit. They're exploiting the idiocracy and selling them the drug of delusion and fucktardedness. And the intellectuals haven't apparently the courage to throw a flag and say, no, I'm going to stand up and be a smart person and say this is wrong. I know the meth addict right now who is very, very pregnant. I see her sleeping on the sidewalk in 100-degree heat. Who talked her out of an abortion? Well, I don't know if she was even had the option of having an abortion. Frankly, they're expensive, and so there's very few providers. So, you know, unless you have somebody, you know, they're not, you know, the crack whore ain't going to take a bus. I'm not saying that abortion is really a good thing. Well, I think it's an excellent thing, but whatever. But in an extreme case like that, I think it could make a very good argument for it. Yeah, well, you're so far from the big picture. You know, again, obviously it's a nice little analogy or metaphor for how bad things are, that there's, you know, people addicted to drugs having kids. But clearly as a society, we're not moving anywhere to do anything about any of this irresponsible child production. Instead, we have politics that are basically, both sides are saying, subsidize it, subsidize it, subsidize it, when they should be saying, penalize it, penalize it, penalize it. They should be prosecuting breeders, not fucking rewarding them. Alright, so this was I remember seeing this comment and I said, oh, what a douche. So he made it, one comment is apparently a good positive comment, so I won't bother reading it. But he says, oh, I made that last comment earlier before I heard you talk about truthers and 9/11. So, I mean, the truth of 9/11 is so easy to find, right? You just do 9/11 debunked, you know, truthers debunked. So you go building 7 debunked, building 11 debunked. And you can find really articulate arguments explaining exactly why there is evidence that appears to be contradictory. And they can explain to you exactly why that contradictory evidence exists and why it looks that way. And why it's not really how it really is. It's just the way it looks. It's not how it is. And there's really good explanations. And clearly this person hasn't bothered looking. Because he doesn't want the truth. He doesn't want to know the truth. He's just going to keep running from the truth. So anyway, it says, there's way. There's way. That's a period after that. So somehow that's a sentence. Too many questions about all that to believe the official story. So again, then the official story is Osama bin Laden and another mullah who had been living in New York City had for years been plotting to take down one of the buildings. They attempted one time with a bomb and it failed, a garage bomb, and then 10 years later they had a plan that worked. And that it was their idea. They sent agents over here to do it, and they successfully accomplished it. That truth isn't a truth. Yeah, no, sounds like a pretty rational theory. Sounds pretty good. And then you look at the evidence and you see the planes flying into the buildings. You don't see explosions ahead of time. I watched it. I saw it happening right on TV. So, I mean, you're watching it right on TV, happening live. I saw it live, happening. You know. Anyway, what about Building 7 collapsing? So again, so a free fall speed when nothing hit it. Well, of course, everything hit it. The fucking building, when it fell down, hit it. Okay, big chunks of the building actually hit Building 7. It's only 100 feet away. It's not that far away. Hunks of it hit it. And the entire foundation of all the buildings, you know, I can't even explain, I guess I can't explain to you, but all the force of all that rubbleized right into the core of the earth, okay? It went right into the ground. And everything in that area got shaken. So you're a delusional kook. But clearly, like I said, you know, I don't want to get into the truth or bullshit, but I just mean it's clearly you can go and you can see actual videos and people will show you. They'll show you how, look, watch the video of Building 7 collapsing. And you can watch the blinds on the windows fly out, story by story, before the facade fell. So the interior of the building had already collapsed, and all the windows, all the air blew out of each one of those stories as the floors collapsed. So you can see it happening, and then you see the facade fall. So the building had already collapsed, and the only thing left was the facade, and then it fell. I mean, you don't want the truth. Again, you just want to live in your fables, in your fairy tales. You're fucking idiots. I mean, it's so insanely silly a theory. Oh, it's an inside job by a president who is totally delusional. You know, an idiot. Who at the time of the event was actually reading nursery school stories to little kids. So when 9/11 happened and George Bush was informed, he was actually reading stories to little kids. And he didn't stop doing it. Because he really didn't want to hear about this shit. I mean, it's just so silly. You know, I mean, preposterously silly. And why would they look like complete cowards, right? So if they were all in on it, why would George Bush get on his plane and fly west, okay, as fast as they could, to get the fuck away from Washington, D.C., when they knew they were the ones doing it and they were in control? Why wouldn't he stay in the White House because he knows the White House isn't going to get hit? Yeah, I mean, you're just so full of shit. Why wouldn't he look like a hero instead of, I mean, you know, he would have the ability to paint it where he could be a hero, not a fucking I'm flying away coward. Oh, anyway, it's just disgusting. All right, well, let's see what this is. This will be it. You know, enough of this already. 1.25 million people went to their deaths by an automobile worldwide last year. That's a pretty high number worldwide. I didn't think it was that high, but yep, it's a, you know, 1.25 million, and we only contributed 30,000 to that number. But you know, in some of these other countries, you just got to say, gee, it's got to be the carnage on the roads. It's got to be insane. You know, when you look like India and these places, there's bicycles everywhere, cars and bicycles. It's got to be a terrible mixture. Then you know, nobody's wearing helmets, and nobody, you know, it's just, you got to just say, oh man, it's got to. Yeah, I hate to be the cleanup crew in one of those countries. Then you got to think how many more are totally crippled that are now living a life in hell for all ages, whatever that means, of all ages. Yeah, that's always a good point to raise. Is you know, people always just talk about the dead people, but they never talk about all the ones that are ruined by the experience, which is almost worse than death. You know, the being totally ruined and have to live a ruined life. You know, poverty and disability. You know, thank you, Henry Ford and Rudolph Diesel. But frankly, you know, these are the prices you pay. And if you think of all the productivity that has come out of being able to, people being mobile and being able to go to work, so to speak, and do things, you know, how much more, you know, how much more dismal life would be if you couldn't move food and you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that. So, but all the wasted trips, it's really sort of an obscenity that we have not fixed all the waste. And it's funny how people malign things that are fairly efficient, like the postal service is actually the rational way to move mail, right? And it's the same way we ought to move food and lots of other stuff. People shouldn't go to the store should deliver to them, because it's so much more efficient in terms of how much energy you consume and how many lives you put at risk. So there should be so much less traffic on the roads, because most of the trips people are making are frivolous and risk for nothing. So don't get me started on Tesla. Yeah, well, Tesla was a real douche, but anyway. Alright, so that's enough. No point. Oh, it does spook. I might as well read his douchebag comment. It's just more, you know, you just always got to make it personal, and you know, this psychobabble, and it's just so annoying. Like somehow, as I've said many times, who I became was so much in the cards when I was 7 years old. I was already on this road in a hard way in terms of being on the cynic, I don't think this is right road. I mean, everything around me seemed quite not the way it should be, and I was quite conscious of how much I was not comfortable with the world I was living in. You staying there in your abode is an excuse in maintaining comfort. Is an exercise in maintaining comfort. Yes, of course, and I've said that explicitly. I want to stay where I am because I have dependencies, and that's just the truth. I'm dependent on it. I'm addicted to what little control I have in my life. You are guilty of being within the range of whom you despise. So I don't think that's at all true. So where have I been dishonest about my addictions or dishonest about my frailties? It's them who are not conceding that they're playing a bad game, that they don't have enough control to have babies, they're not professional child rearers, they're not qualified for the job they're taking on, that they're playing with a mechanism they can't control. I'm the humble one saying we shouldn't be touching the mechanism. They're the ones saying they know how to pull all the levers. How am I becoming one of them? Which is fine in my world. I don't care what's fine in your world. I'm not accepting your cheap and crappy paraphrase. And justified in yours. But your do not God is to ignore the signs which can take you to specific locations which make life be, whatever that means, beyond mere birth, live, die. Beyond mere birth, live, die. I don't know. Not very Shakespeareanly eloquent. You're tough. You stay in the same spot. Again, we all have our limitations, and I have lived with a neuroses for 40 years. And it's just a fact. 45 actually. And I don't defend it. I'm just saying, unfortunately, it's a condition. I have to accept the condition. Not knowing what is on the other side. Plenty of earth that you don't know about. But again, this is just more horseshit, as if I didn't live a life in the real world when I did. And I lived in a substantially enriched life, and then I did a lot of traveling as a youth. I went to a lot of places and saw a lot of kinds of people and did lots of kinds of things. So it's just kind of horseshit to say I have a limited knowledge of, because I don't. Plenty ways of being you don't know about. Again, I say that's horseshit. You make up for what you lack with what you know, but learning to your deficit is a type of growth. I don't know what that means. You're not a one-man band now. I don't know what that means either. Whatever. But you can exit paradise left when you find the gears to do so. Yes, but again, always at a cost. It's not free. If when you do come in together, don't piss it away fixing up your shit shack. I don't know what that means exactly. I don't want to make arguments to people, but it really doesn't matter to me. I mean, in the sense that I'm not too particular about what color paint is on the wall or something. So shit shack or not, it's home sweet home for me. That's all that really matters, right? Am I sitting in it saying shit shack? No, that's not what I see. It's not what I'm living in. It's okay for you to say it's shitty for your standards, not shitty for mine. Just lacks great adventure in one's mortal coil. Whatever. Fear at the stage would be the biggest lie you've ever told yourself. Fear at that stage would be the biggest lie you've ever told yourself. Well, whatever. I mean, whatever mush this is. I have clearly no innate disposition to be a affirmative gambler. Okay, it's never my nature to risk something important. So if I was gambling, you know, the fingernails I just clipped, yeah, I'd say, okay, so yeah, okay, I can use them as money, sure, I'll gamble that. But I'd never gamble my skin. I'd never gamble something core. Not my nature. So I was always risk averse and reward unimpressed. You know, I never figured I'd want to play a game you have to pay for it in the first place. I was always too cheap. Well, you have to pay for it? Well, then it can't be worth doing. Fuck it. That's sort of my way of looking at it. You know, there can be a really expensive ride that you have to pay money to go on. Or you can sit on a park bench and poke a stick in some mud. You know, I'll sit on a bench and poke a stick in some mud. That'll be good enough. I don't need the fancy ride. I'd rather have 10 shitty little cars than one great fancy car. Yeah, anyway, enough of that crap. Yeah, that's enough. More than enough, no doubt. It's always dangerous getting into the comments, but so anyway, sorry about some drift in the subject, but that's, you know, it's okay. Yeah, so until the next time, I shall try to do a live room one of these days, maybe a couple this week. We'll see how it goes, and such. Maybe I'll try to write some Shakespeare. Some inmendham spear. But anyway, till the next time. Yeah, I think it's time to go.